Hello dear aspirants, welcome to Epitome IAS. So dear students, as the part of Ncrt series, we are now starting the Polity Ncrts. So we'll be covering from 6th class to the 12th class Ncrt. Okay. So in today's class, we'll be actually starting this 6th class Ncrt and we'll be covering the chapter 1 of this particular 6th class Ncrt, and the chapter 1 is Understanding Diversity. Okay. So let us start with the today's class. So as you can see here, today's first chapter is Understanding the Diversity. Okay. So first of all, in this chapter, we will be trying to understand the diversity of India. Okay. So whenever you see around yourself, okay, in your class or outside, whenever you see the other people, tell me, all the people, are they just like you? Are they just speaking the language which you are speaking? Are they eating the same type of food which you are eating? Are they following the same religion which you are following? So the answer is no. Everyone is different. Okay. Every person, their language may be different, their religion may be different, their food habits may be different. Tell me, what about the clothes? The clothes may be different. Okay. So throughout India, if you take India as a whole, this particular diversity is very huge. Okay. Around hundreds of languages you can see in India. Okay. Because of its vast geography, the geographical area is so high and the population is so high, crores of people. So you can see a large number of, diversity based on language or culture or religion. And even if you see about the religion, some of the major religions of this world, for example, we have Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Jainism, Buddhism. So there is a vast variety in the religion itself. Okay. So that's why our country, if you see, it is very diverse in nature. So we'll be trying and understanding what this diversity actually means and how it is very special that our country has such a diversity. Okay, and we'll also be understanding whether diversity is a positive thing or it is a negative thing. Okay, so we'll be understanding all these things in this particular chapter. So let us start with the first chapter today. So here in this particular, Ncrt, they have given an example or story of two friends or two people. Okay, let us say this is person A and this is person B. Okay, both of them have the same name, Samir. Okay, we don't get into the story, but let us just discuss about what we can learn from this particular story. Okay, in this particular story, let us say this is person A and this is person B. The person A is a Hindu, whereas person B is a Muslim. Okay, then what is the another difference we can see in this particular story? Person A is his language, his way of speaking. The language is English, and person B is Hindi. Okay, you might be, your mother tongue might be something else, but here this we'll consider he speaks Hindi. Okay, then other difference you can see, this person A, he is somewhat, he belongs to an urban area. Okay, but this particular person B, he comes from a rural area. Okay, so these are some of the differences which we can see of two persons, and these differences are nothing but the diversity. Okay, here person A is a Hindu, person B is a Muslim. Okay, so he may be belonging to any other religion. Okay, this is an example of diversity. Okay, each and every person, he belongs to some religion and they all belong to different religions, right? So this is one example for diversity. And second is language. So tell me, whichever state you are residing, majorly that state they'll be talking with some language. Okay, if you take Telangana, Andhra, they'll be talking Telugu. And let us take, Tamil Nadu, they'll be talking Tamil. If you go to the north states, mostly they will be talking in Hindi. Okay, so these are some of the different languages. Again, languages. This is an example for diversity. Okay, then we have another difference, that is person A, mostly he belong to the urban area. Okay, and person B, he belong to a rural area. Again, they have some sort of a cultural differences. Okay, the way you are growing up, okay, your parents, your surrounding, okay, your environment. So all these things actually determine how a person you are going to be. Okay, so because of this, what happened? Maybe a person growing up in a rural area have some sort of an ideology which is completely different from another person who is growing up in an urban area. Okay, for example, just an example, I'm not telling whether it's right or wrong. No, we are not going into that conversation, but I'm just telling an example. In rural areas, there is some sort of a notion that you should not wear, sleeveless. But in urban area, it's very common. Okay, so this is some sort of a cultural difference which we can see here. Okay, so these are some of the examples of what you say, the diversity. Okay, now there is another example or another difference between this person A and person B. And what is this difference? This difference is, let us say this person A, he went to school, but this person B, he was selling newspaper. Okay, so what it means, what it says actually, it says that person A, he had opportunity to go to school. Okay, maybe his parents are, somewhat richer or, middle class family, but they can, let their child to go to a school. But person B here, he did not go to school, and he is selling newspaper in the roads. So again, what this thing is showing us, it shows that certain people, they have the opportunity, the opportunity to get good education or any other essential services. But some people, they are deprived of these opportunities. Okay, now tell me, whether is this particular thing, is it a diversity? Is it an example of diversity? Tell me. Thing is, yes, there is some sort of a difference, but this is not diversity here. This is called as inequality. So there is a difference between diversity and inequality. So these three examples which we saw here, the religion, language and other cultural differences, these comes under the example of diversity. But if you see this example, the opportunity, some people are getting opportunity and some people are deprived of opportunity. So this does not come under the diversity. This is literally means inequality. Okay, so because of this inequality, certain people are treated certain way and some other people are treated some other way. So certain people are taking advantage and certain people are, treated with disadvantage. So this is inequality. Okay, from this story we can basically, bare minimum, we can understand that what is diversity and what is inequality. Okay, so another example they are giving here, that is caste system. Okay, so you might have known that there is some sort of a caste system which is existing in our country. Okay, now tell me, whether this caste system, does it belong to the diversity or does it belong to the inequality? Okay, so if you see here, this caste system, obviously you might be reading it in the history. Okay, in the ancient history you might be reading it, like what is the origin of this caste system, how it was formed. Okay, initially it was only 2, then it became 4, then ultimately now if you see, hundreds of thousands of castes are there throughout India. Okay, so tell me whether this caste system, is it an example of diversity or is it an example of inequality? So technically, this particular caste system is an example of inequality. Why? Let us say what is the main, objective, or what is the function of this caste system was initially, not today. When you start, when you read about it in ancient history or, medieval history, you will be understanding that a particular person belonging to a particular, caste, let us say, let us take example of Brahmins. So let us say a particular person was born out of this Brahmin family. So he'll be following the parents' caste. And again, his son, his daughter. So these people are going to follow this particular, caste. So just like that, let us take another example. Let us say there is some sort of a potter. Okay. This particular potter caste, okay, they make pots. Okay. Now, his children or his son, he is also subjected to make pots only. He should become a pot maker. He cannot go and become some other else. Okay. He cannot take up some other profession or occupation. He must follow his father's occupation, his father's profession. Okay. So because of this, what happened? Just say we saw the Brahmins, obviously their main occupation would be the, teaching. Okay. They'll be teaching and doing this mantras and etc. And they'll be having the high status in the society. Okay. And if you see in the Shudras, often they are considered as untouchables. Okay. And because of that, they were, put to do certain very menial jobs. Okay. They were not given proper jobs. They were certain menial jobs they have to do. Okay. And because of this, a lot of discrimination started to happen between different castes. Okay. So because of that, the poor people or the, lower section of the society, they tend to be discriminated in a more way. Okay. For example, you might have heard about this also in the history classes, that if there is a common well, okay, so this poor or this untouchables or the Shudras, which the so-called Shudras, they call them as untouchables, right? So these people are not allowed to, take water from the common well. Okay, they are not allowed to enter into the temple. Okay, and often what happens is, if there is a village, let us say this is a village, these people, the untouchables or the, Shudras, they should be staying in the outskirts of these villages, and they are not allowed to even enter into the villages. Okay, so this sort of a discrimination which was, created, and it was practiced for, centuries and centuries. Okay, because of this, even now the caste system is, there, and you can see a lot of discrimination is still happening. Even though after independence, we have abolished the Constitution of India, abolished the untouchability. Okay, it is an offense to treat someone as an untouchable. Okay, and the Constitution also provides for different aspects of removing this sort of inequality which was created for centuries of, years. But still, it is very sad that this particular caste discrimination is still happening in our country. There are many villages where still, till now, these, scheduled caste or scheduled tribes, these people, they are not let to enter into the villages. And in some villages, even if they want to enter, they have to remove their slippers and they have to carry it in their hands. That is how they are allowed to enter into some villages. This is not happening everywhere. Okay, it's happening in, some of the corners of our country. Some places, it's not very, often. But what I'm trying to say is, it's still present, even after 78 years, around 80 years of independence, we are still having these sort of caste discrimination which is happening. Okay, and tell me, what about this? Are there any other examples of caste discrimination which you can face, which you can see? One such example is, when the marriages are happening in India, still this intercaste marriage is a, it's a very bad thing. when people are going for marriages, often they are, going for the same caste marriage. If someone is doing an intercaste marriage, especially in the rural areas, those people are, treated very badly. In some cases, you might be hearing about the cases of honor killing. What is this honor killing? If a person is doing an intercaste marriage, those people are killed by their own relatives or the parents. That is honor killing. Okay, so still we can see the cases. We have the cases of honor killing which is happening. So there is some sort of a discrimination which is happening in the, our country based on the caste. Okay, so that is there. So now we'll get back to the diversity. So in case of India, here we are talking about India and the diversity in India. So as I already told you, we have a diverse, languages, n number of languages, okay, which are there in India even in the current time. That is one thing. Then we have different type of food, okay. Even the food, if you see, what are the reasons? What may be the reason? One reason could be the geographical location. For example, if you take North India versus South India, so tell me, the South Indian people are going to eat rice like throughout the year. Every day they are going to eat rice. And the roti, tell me whether they eat roti very often or rice very often. So obviously they are going to eat the rice very often. And whereas in North India, they are going to eat roti. They might also, consume rice, but more often they will be eating roti. So what is this particular thing? It also shows that there is some sort of a, geographical differences between the North India and the South India. So mostly if you see this North Indian states, they are, having proper seasons. Winter season, summer season. And in South India, if you see, more of a, you won't be able to feel the differences in the temperature. You won't be able to feel the effects of the climate in the South India. Okay, because of this, what happens is, you might be reading this in the geography. Because of this, in North India, what happens is, during Kharif and Rabi, there be growing the summer crops and the winter crops. You might know this. But in South India, what happens is, they are able to cultivate rice throughout the year because there is no season. Throughout the year, they can cultivate rice. Whereas in North India, they can cultivate rice only in the Kharif season. Okay. So this is one, example why there is a huge difference between the North Indians and the South Indians in the basic, staple food. Okay. And apart from that, clothes, think about the clothes, how the North Indians wear the clothes mostly and how the South Indians wear the clothes. So mostly if you see, again, this is also a geographical, phenomena. Because of the North India, they are experiencing the summer and winter different seasons. Their dressing pattern is also going to be, different. In summers, they might be wearing somewhat light clothes. And in winters, they'll be wearing sweaters and, heavy clothes, woolen clothes. But in South India, have you ever seen someone wearing heavy, sweaters and big woolen clothes? No. One person might hardly have 1 or 2 sweaters here. That too for few days in the, December's or November's, January, that period. And we don't often have a cold temperature, extreme cold temperature. Just like the North India, we don't have that much temperature in the South India. Okay, so that is one difference on how the basic difference of clothes can be determined by the geographical, location. Okay, that is one thing. Then the festivals. Again, tell me, what about the festivals? How we are like celebrating the festivals? Throughout India, are we celebrating same festivals? Or we are celebrating different festivals. So here there is a beauty which you have to observe. That is, one, obviously we are celebrating different festivals. Okay, different sort of festivals. But there are certain festivals which are, celebrated throughout India. But in different names. For example, the harvest festival. Okay, in Tamil Nadu, they may call it in some other name. In Andhra Pradesh, some other name. In North India, they'll be calling it as in some other name. But all of these people are celebrating the same festival. And even the way they are celebrating, somewhere it is celebrated for 4 days, somewhere it is celebrated for 7 days, some days, some places it is celebrated for 1-2 days. So there is a difference in the method, okay, of celebrating these particular festivals. But again, they are celebrating the same festival in a different format. So that is one beauty which you can see. Okay, so these things are there. The food we saw, dress we saw, languages we saw, religions we saw. So these are the diversity, which we can see in our country. Okay. So now we'll be discussing about what are the reasons for this, diversity. Okay. So the reasons for this diversity is, so the first reason is the cultural intermixing of people. Okay. So this is one of the historical, historical factor which is responsible for the diversity. Okay. So let me give you an example. You might be reading it in the history again, that different sort of people, from other parts of the world, they are coming to India. Okay. From ancient history, you will be seeing the Greeks coming, then you will be seeing the Arabs coming. So then we will be seeing the Europeans coming. So thing is, different sort of people of different time period, they are trying to come to India, okay, for trading reasons or any other reason. Now what happens is, today we have flights. So when I want to go to some other country, I can go now and I may come back within 2 to 3 days or within 1 week or whatever. Whichever time I want to come back, I can come back. Those times we don't have these flights or trains, right? So what happened is, most of these people used to travel in the ships, okay, not sheeps. So most of these people, they are traveling through ships, okay. And what happens is, some of the people, they might be staying there for a temporary period for months. This temporary period is not for 1 or 2 days. They are going to stay there for months and years, at least 1 year, 2 years, Or some people, they might be staying there permanently. They are never going back. So because of this, what happens? People coming from different parts of the world, okay, Arab, Europeans, this side China. So what happens is, these people while coming, obviously, they are carrying some sort of a culture with them, their own ideologies, their own dressing, their own food culture, okay. So mostly in modern history, you will be reading about this also. These Portuguese introduced green chilies, potatoes, okay. Basic, today we are having potatoes and green chilies in almost all meals, every meal. Okay, so these were introduced by the Europeans, foreigners. It was not, indigenous to our country. So what happens is, these people while traveling from other country, they are carrying some of the culture, okay, some of the practices with them. And what happens when they are staying here, they are leaving this particular culture or, practices here. They are teaching our people, teaching the indigenous people, this type of food culture, this type of, dressing. So these people are adopting to that particular new culture or new practices, okay. Now again, when some people are going back to their own country after staying here for, 1 or 2 years, now they are going to carry back some of the culture or some of the, practices which we were practicing earlier, okay. So because of this, what happens is, there is a lot of intermixing of cultures is happening. Okay, because it's not one time or two time these foreigners come to India. Throughout the history, ancient, medieval and modern, throughout the years, these people are coming, from outside to India, and every time these people are coming from different parts of the world. And in different parts of the world, they might be having a different sort of culture, different sort of habits. So these people are introducing these culture to the, native people. Because of this, a lot of intermixing of cultures is happening. Okay, so that's why these this diversity which we see today has been formed throughout, the centuries and centuries of our history. So we can, in other word, we can say that this cultural intermixing is nothing but it is a historical factor. Because of this long history of, travelers and people coming to India, because of this much diverse and complex diversity which is formed today, okay, which can be seen today. Okay, so this is a historical factor. Then what is the another reason? Another reason is a geographical reason. So what happens in this geographical factor is, as I already told you, the cloth, the difference between North India and South India. I am talking about the basic difference, okay, and even the food, the basic difference. Just like that, this geographical factors are responsible for certain type of a, diversity. For example, let us say there is a state or a, region which is present in the nearby sea area. It has a sea nearby area. Okay. Then there is another location which is a completely desert. Okay. For example, we have the Thar desert. Now tell me how the dressing is going to be. Obviously, in the desert area, they are going to wear somewhat very light clothes. Okay. And in the sea, sea related this area, people are going to wear somewhat normal clothes. And what is going to be their occupation? First, those people who are residing, beside the sea, mostly they are going to go to the fishing. Okay. But these people who are living in the desert area, can they go to fishing? Okay, no, they can't. Can they do agriculture? No, they can't do agriculture. So they have to go to some other option, right? So because of this geographical differences also, their occupation, their food habits, now they can't even do the agriculture. They can't do agriculture. Can they eat rice on daily basis? No, they can't eat rice on daily basis. Okay, so their food habits, their clothing, even the type of houses which they are living, everything is going to be different. Okay, so this geographical factor is also another reason for this particular diversity which can be seen in our country. Okay, here in this particular, in this particular box, they are talking about, they have given two, examples. One is Ladakh and another one is Kerala. So here they are talking about Ladakh and Kerala. So Kerala, first we'll talk about Ladakh. Ladakh, you might have heard, it is a cold desert. Okay, it is a desert. So you might, if you don't know, I'm telling you, desert is not that only, it is having a lot of, sun. There is something called as cold desert, okay, where there is minimum amount of rainfall. There is no minimum amount of rainfall. We call it as desert. May it a cold desert or a hot desert. Not necessarily it should be hot. It can be cold also. So this Ladakh region, you can see in the India map, in the top of the India map, you will be seeing adjoining the Jammu and Kashmir. Okay. So this particular Ladakh is a cold desert. And what happens is, throughout the year, this particular Ladakh is going to be covered with snow throughout the year. Okay, because of this, what happens is, there is no possibility of doing agriculture. Okay, these people, they can't do agriculture. So what is the major occupation these people are going to follow? These people mainly, they're going to rear some cattle, goats and sheep. The goats they are going to rear, and their main activity, occupational activity is going to be pastrolling, grazing these cattle. Okay, so here they are talking about this pashmina shawls. Okay, these pashmina shawls are made out of these pashmina sheeps. Okay, these sheeps, the wool is taken out from these sheeps and it is made as a shawl, and this shawl is sold outside the particular area, and they are getting money from that particular shawls also. So this is their main occupation. They can't do agriculture. Now obviously they can't do agriculture. What is their main, what is the main food which they are going to consume? Again, it's not going to be rice or not going to be other food items which are cultivated by the agriculture. So here they are mainly consuming milk products and meat, which is taken from this particular sheep and other cattle. Okay, whereas the other example they have given here is Kerala. Okay, so here the Kerala you can see. So Kerala, this is here. For those of you who don't know, let us see, this is South India. This is Kerala somewhere here. So it is joining the sea area. Okay, so because of this, what happens? Their major occupation, obviously one is they can go for fishing, and they have fertile lands. They can go for agriculture also. Okay, and Kerala is famous for its spices, different sort of spices. Okay, all these things are based on this geographical location. Okay, so those people, their occupation or their eating habits is going to be based on the geographical location, and clothes I already told you. So this is one reason. But there is one similarity. There is a difference between Ladakh and Kerala. There is one similarity between Ladakh and Kerala. So if we see what is that similarity is. So what is that similarity is, we might have read this, the Arab travelers, the Jewish travelers, the Portuguese, all these people who traveled to India, obviously they were reaching India through the coastal region. Okay, mostly from Kerala and other coastal areas also. So when they are getting into this particular area, Kerala, there is some sort of intermixing of culture which is happening, and because of this there is a lot of diversity which can be seen in Kerala. Religion, food habit or other cultural differences you can see in Kerala. Then how it is similar to Ladakh? It is similar to Ladakh because again Ladakh, it was part of a trading route. If you see, from Tibet to other European countries. So this Ladakh lied in between this particular trading route. Because of this, what happened? There is again lot of intermixing of culture which is happening from other sides of both the side, from either from China to Tibet or from the European and the Central Asian countries. Okay, so even it is said that this particular, we know that, right, Jainism and Buddhism, it was originated from India. Okay, so the Buddhism, now it is not very, very largely it is not appreciated in India. Very few people are following Buddhism in India. Once it was the birth country of Buddhism was India. Okay, now this particular Buddhism is celebrated in different parts of the world, other countries. So especially if you go to Tibet, okay, they are still following this particular Buddhism. So this particular Buddhism, it traveled from India to Tibet through this particular Ladakh, okay, because it was part of a important trading route. Okay, so because of this, we can say this Ladakh and the Kerala, it has a similarity, that is both of them are having this intermixing of cultures. Okay, so even though geographically these two are totally different, still they have some sort of a similarity. So here they are talking about unity in diversity. Okay, so what is this unity in diversity? Even though in our country we have this much amount of diversity, still we are a kind of united in nature. Okay, our constitution itself is a secular constitution. We are a secular country, right? We do not appreciate, or we do not support a particular community or particular religion, and we do not discriminate against particular religion or particular community. Okay, so we as a country from the beginning, we are appreciating, we always have appreciated this difference, this diversity. Okay, so we have always seen this particular diversity thing as a special thing, as a positive thing. Okay, even though yes, we are different, we know how to tolerate people. Okay, it is not there since independence. Okay, even before independence, even in the medieval time, in the ancient time, in ancient time we had Jainism, Buddhism, Hinduism, right? So all these religions, they existed. Okay, but there was no such thing like, yes, there are some examples obviously of intolerance which is happening, but the common mass, if you see, they are always tolerant towards each other. For example, in those times, ancient times, we can see that people belonging to same family, okay, they belong to different religion. At that time, let us say a person belonging to Vaishnavism, maybe his brother belonged to Shaivism. At that time, there was nothing called as Hinduism, obviously. This Shaivism and Vaishnavism were considered as different religion. Or let us say a father is a Hindu, his son can become a Jain. He can follow Jainism, and his son can follow Buddhism. It's up to them. Okay, so they were always tolerant towards the other religion, except for some kings which were intolerant towards other religion. The common mass were always tolerant towards other religion and other caste people. Okay, and if you see in the medieval time also, again Hindu, Muslims and these things were there. The common people were mostly tolerant towards the other religion and other cultures. Okay, so with that we can say that India as a country, this particular appreciating the differences is not something given from outside. It was inherently within us. We know this from the beginning. We always appreciated other culture. Even if we are not appreciating, we were tolerant towards other culture. Okay, we were not intolerant towards other culture. So that is the beauty of this unity in diversity. Even though there is a lot of diversity, still there is some sort of unity. That example I told you, this festivals, even though we celebrate different, the name of the festivals are different, the method of these festivals are different, but they are ultimately celebrating the same festival in the different formats. That's one example. Okay, so here they are talking about Discovery of India by Jawaharlal Nehru. So Jawaharlal Nehru, his book Discovery of India, in this particular book he talks about this thing, that is this tolerance towards other culture or other religion. It is not something which is given outside, from outside. It is already existed within us. That is what he is saying. Okay, and this particular term unity in diversity was also introduced or coined by Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, and if you see this national movement, Indian national movement, it is a good example of showing the unity in diversity. People belonging to different religions, different caste, poor people, rich people, different economical background, all these people come together and fought against the British. The British thought that these people are so diverse. They have so much differences. So we can easily, rule them. But we as a country, we united, even though we had a lot of difference, we united as a single unit and we fought against the British. Okay. So Indian national movement is one of the example of this particular unity in diversity. And those songs and those, poems which were written during this particular national movement, mostly it talks about this particular diversity and, the special nature of our country. For example, this national anthem, it also talks about the unity of India. Okay. So with that, we have completed this particular chapter. In this particular chapter, we learned about what is diversity, how this diversity is different from inequality, and how this diversity is very special, and what is the context of India, what sort of diversity we have. Then we also learned about what are the reasons for this particular diversity. Okay. So all these things we read about this, and in next class we will be talking about, we'll be starting with chapter 2. Okay. So until then, I'll see you in the next class. Thank you, students.